Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video, we are going to chat Black Library, and we have a Warhammer 40,000 review for you of the story of Honor and Iron by Ian St. Martin. Now, this is one of the Space Marine Conquest story, and this is currently book number 4 in the series. We have done the other books within the series so far, which have been really fun to come and get to grips with and learn and read a little bit about them. I missed a bunch of them, so far we have done the Devastation of Baal, Ashes of Prosper, and War of Secrets. This will be number 4, and we do plan to do the whole series of 6 of them, with Apocalypse and Fist of the Imperium to come after this one. Now, as always, I do like to listen to the audio versions of these, so this one was narrated by Bruce McKinnon. Can't say I've listened to too many audiobooks narrated by Bruce McKinnon. I couldn't see anything on my audio list that had him as a narrator, but pretty cool nonetheless, getting to learn a new narrator and get to hear someone else bring the Warhammer 40k universe to life is always fun. This will be the first story I've read from Ian St. Martin as well, which is really fun. I haven't listened to anything else on this so far, so really cool. With that said though, let's get cracking in, let's talk about the story, and let's see what I thought of this book in general. And so, the story. The age of the Dark Imperium has begun, and the human race is poised on the brink of ruin. In their darkest hour, the Emperor's servants have achieved the impossible, the resurrection of the Primarch Rabuje Guilliman. Now Lord Commander of the Imperium of Men, Guilliman marshals his forces in a desperate effort to drive back the predations of chaos with the Indomitus Crusade. Dispatched ahead of the bulk of Guilliman's war fleets, however, Chaplain Helios of the Ultramarines is entrusted by the risen Primarch with a mission of vital importance. Will he achieve a crucial victory for Guilliman in time, or will a millennia-old obsession spell his doom? And just what manner of weapons will be needed to wage the war that will save mankind? Today's video is brought to you by Gap Games, a fantastic retailer in Australia for a variety of different miniature war games. If you'd like to help support the channel, we have an affiliate link where by clicking on and purchasing, you'll help support the channel, but you'll also help support Gap Games, which is a fantastic servant to the community. And so then we look at the story's purpose. This story is set in the very early days of the Indomitus Crusade, when things like Guilliman's return, Primaris Marines, etc. are not even common knowledge to the wider Imperium, and indeed probably more than just the wider Imperium, the Imperium in general. We are getting the first few interactions between Primaris Marines and their firstborn counterparts. We're getting a look at a bunch of Ultramarines where they've had actually the Primaris Marines sort of pushed into their squad. So we have, a regular Assault Marine Sergeant working with Inceptors. The Chaplain is leading some Intercessors. And so we've got, all these different positions within this thing of Primaris Marines pretty much coming in and filling in the gaps in the lines of the Ultramarines. We also have a look at the course of the story, and we learn a lot through the story on just how far Guilliman is willing to go, and maybe even test his own morals and his own sort of, agendas and thoughts on how he will go about saving humanity with the Indomitus Crusade, and indeed what he will do to make this crusade a success. And so our main character is the Chaplain Helios. He's quite an interesting one. He is a very devout servant of the Imperium, of the Emperor. He's quite devout in his religion, how he sort of sees everything, which is really cool and, a little bit at odds, because we obviously have the Primaris Marines who are very much from the age of the Emperor's not a god. They're from the 31st millennium rather than the 41st millennium, where, science is the way forward and all of that. There is no religion. The Emperor of Man is not a god. Do not worship the Primarchs and all that. And they have this sort of very calculating, methodical, almost Adeptus Mechanicus-like way of thinking about things. But Chaplain Helios is a very devout. And they do sort of begin to see how he looks at things over the course of the story. But Chaplain Helios on his own, he is really at the start of the story trying to show them how to be Space Marines, how to go onto the battlefield, because many of these new Primaris Marines haven't actually gone into battle before. They're going, oh, I've been in 75 simulated engagements, is one of the lines in there. They go, simulated? Yes, I've never actually been in proper battle, but I've had many simulations, thanks to the Adeptus Mechanicus, and the chaplain's very much like, ooh, okay, we are going to need to blood these in proper combats. Simulations can only take you so far, but a really interesting character, you know. He is quite devout, he's really powerful and sort of strong leader type character, as you'd expect from most Space Marines. And so, over the course of the story, though, what does change about our main character, Chaplain Helios? It is worth mentioning that he does have some really good support cast in there, from the sergeants that are still around from the Firstborn Marines that were part of his squad, to the actual Primaris Marines that have come in, to even the secondary characters that are on the planet they're going to, that are sort of the last holdout survivors, that are an apothecary and a librarian from the Genesis chapter, which is pretty cool. I absolutely loved seeing the Genesis chapter in here, as an aside. They're one of my favourite Space Marine chapters. I love the idea of this first among seconds for them. And they're really fun, and this does create some really cool dynamics throughout the story. But what changes about Helios, though, over the course is, I guess, he learns to take on these Primaris Marines, learns about how they're different, learns about, you know, how they're going to fight, how they're going to bring something, and also sees a little bit of the world in how they see it, sees their questioning as maybe at the start a little bit off-putting, a little bit insubordinate, but definitely over the course of the story he learns to engage with them better, learns how to sort of deal and interact with them a lot more, which is an interesting sort of thing, seeing this interaction and this integration of the Primaris Marine slowly within the story, and indeed within Chaplain Helios and his own sort of I guess doubts, you could say, he has at times of them. And so what does this story do well? And I think one of the really good things this does is it has very powerful combat scenes in there. Very descriptive, very strong, sometimes a little bit graphic as well in how they're described. But I did enjoy the nice combat scenes within this, especially when you get the Space Marines versus the Mortals. I think it shows a very clear difference in this. You know, when you're talking Space Marines, just go, I don't need a bolt pistol, I don't even need to draw my combat knife, I'm going to wade in there with fists and just punch people, and, you know, use their bare hands against mortals because they don't need anything else more than that. And I think that's a really interesting one. And, you know, we see Space Marines really doing some quite powerful things in this, but I think this book really does portray them in a very nice and powerful way without going too overpowered, I guess you could say. But it is worth always remembering that Space Marines in the lore are different than Space Marines on the tabletop, and I think this does a really good job of just showing the power of these characters, and indeed the power of the new Primaris Marines as an extra step above as well. And so, who would enjoy this story? I think this one is pretty sort of open and closed. If you like the Ultramarines, this story is for you. You know, it's heavily Ultramarine focused. I mean, even the secondary Space Marine chapter we have that are good guys is the Genesis chapter, who are just Ultramarines but that wear red. So there's not an awful lot of difference in them really there. We do get a really cool look, though, at some Primaris Marines, at some of the newer Primaris, well, at least newer at the time of when the story is told. If you like Ultramarines, if you like Space Marine stuff, I think this is a really fun, simple, not overly long story. I think it was just over 8 hours long on the audio version, so not a particularly long story, on the shorter end of your average Black Library, if not a little bit under the average sort of length of a Black Library story. And so, in summary, like, this is a solid story. Not an overly large amount of wider context within it. It doesn't have, you know, galaxy-spanning things that might happen, or it doesn't seem to have, you know, some massive big ending to it. But it is an enjoyable read regardless. I think this is just a solid story that, you know, I quite enjoyed. I went through listening to this over the course of 2 days. You know, it just is a nice, good story. I don't think it needs to have wider context. I like stories like this. Well, just, you know, a bit of fun in the 40k universe. Also, it gets bonus points for having Genesis chapter in there, in all honesty. I love the Genesis chapter. I really want to start them again. I used to have a company and sold them ages ago when I got out of 40k after 7th edition and sold all my Firstborn, but maybe, who knows, maybe I need to do a Genesis chapter Marine Army again after reading this. It sort of spurred something in me that wants me to do that again. But with that said, if you have picked this up of Honor and Iron by Ian St. Martin, let us know your thoughts of it down in the comments below. Love to hear from everyone. And so, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, and also drop a comment down below letting us know what you thought about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fun little community, we have a Discord server which is linked down in the video's description, and also linked down in the video's description are the best ways to help support the channel, either by Patreon or YouTube members, or by grabbing yourself some merch from our Teespring store as well. All of those are linked down in the video's description, and a special thank you to our YouTube members and patrons. We'd like to give you all a shout out, so thank you to our YouTube members John Castle, Disco, James Tillman, Monty Tabletop Terrain, Ariana Edwards, Broken Chef, the Johnny84, Lock Lorick, Ronya, Green Roots Gaming, and our patrons Wasaren, Kenny Lyle, Outer and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Cure Dynamic, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Benjamin Swallows, Red Martin, Iron Grinch, Colorblind Magic, Grimscold, and Andy C. Thank you all once again, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.